and Woolston are pointing out slightly, and that's it. They're off. The gunner has gone. So St Bennett, they're making a decent start, but Woolston a better one, so they're gaining straight away. And Brasenose behind Woolston have also made a good start, and they're gaining on Woolston as well. And there's Trinity taking a bit of an evasive action, and the Red Hats of Osler are gaining rapidly, so their quality is shining through. In fact, they've already made the bump. Osler 1 have already made the bump. But the crew they bumped, Trinity, have to keep going.
They do, but they are on a good line. They are nice and tight to the bank, which should give them an advantage as they come up to the bridge. And we have Woolston putting in a big push on Bennett's, and Brasenose following relatively rapidly afterwards, much tighter to the bank actually, which will give them an advantage coming around that corner.
And that's St Anthony's pulling out as if they've made a bump as well on the other Woolston crew.
Yep, so that means that Teddy Hall will then be trying to push onto that Woolston crew. And it looks like we've got a little bit of a three-boat sandwich, as we call it, starting to appear in the guts between Bennett's Hall, Woolston 4 and Brasenose 2, followed by Trinity and Osler, who are rowing just a little bit more distance. It does look like Woolston are clearing and therefore have got that bump, which will mean that Brasenose continue to push up and onto Bennett's Hall. With the crews bumping out, it does look like Woolston 5 have got a little bit more distance to make up on the crews in front as well.
But the crew ahead of them is Osler 2, who they started behind. Osler 2 haven't bumped out yet, have they?
I believe one of the Osler crews has, but I'm not entirely sure which, to be fair.
I think it was the first one. It was Osler House who caught Trinity straight away with the red hat, which you can just see down there in the black bows on the bottom left of the screen.
Yeah, so Woolston taking a slightly wide line into the gut. What they are doing now is they're steering this bay, which can be a little bit dangerous because then you have to push the rudder onto the right to make the bay and then hard back onto the left to get around the corner and right again.
And whereas Teddy Hall very close to the bank there. That was really good.
If you can hold it, it's a very good line, but you have to really trust your crew. So coming out of the guts, it does look like Brasenose did get the bump on Bennett's.
On Bennett's as well.
And it looks like Osler are pushing onto Trinity.
And I think this is Osler. I think this is Osler 2 because they have fewer hats. Osler 1 all had the matching hats. I made notes.
Good.
So Osler 2 coming up the gut looked like they were about to get their bump, which is whenever I say this, it looks like we always put a jinx on it. Sorry about that.
So they are gaining hard. They are putting a push
and
in.
And they're going to have an overlap now.
So depends what the Trinity Cooks decides to do. She isn't.
Who hasn't even looked? Oh yes.
Yes, there we go.
Oh God, there's a boat there. Yes. Please stop. That must be terrifying. But of course, Trinity have to carry on. The only crew ahead of them now is Bennett Hall, because both Woolston and Brasenose have caught them. And then down the back, I didn't see what happened to Cats and the other Teddy's crew.
I believe Cats may have bumped.
Oh, these are behind the launch. These are the crews that have bumped. So we've definitely got St Anthony's have bumped. And the Woolston has bumped. And then up here at the front of the race again, we're back up with St Bennett Hall, who are well clear of... That's Osler House. No, it's not.
So it's Trinity chasing them quite hard. So Trinity 2. So yes. Trinity have a decision to make here, and the Cooks will be trying to work out what's the best decision for her crew. Do they keep pushing hard and try and walk on Bennett Hall over a longer distance, or do they actually, make the decision that the bump is not going to happen? They haven't got enough river left, and therefore they can kind of back off since they've got clear water behind them to save their legs for another day.
They are gaining quickly.
It does look like they are going for that push. So they've probably, if they're coming up to Unif, they've probably got about 700 meters to try and gain about a length's worth of distance there, which should be doable. They look like they've got a solid rhythm. but Bennett's will also know that they only have to hold Trinity for that long to avoid the bump as they come down the island.
And the other fun part is they have to stay clear of the bump until their stern crosses the finishing line. So you see Cox is running away, steering across to the wrong side of the river in the stream to avoid taking that bump. There's only a length and a half now between Bennett and Trinity 2. And then there are only 2 other boats following them up, which are Teddy Hall and Cats.
Absolutely. So Osler, the Cox, is probably thinking, they're coming up to the top of the island. They've only got a little bit of the river left. As you say, it is when your stern passes the finish line, but you do not get the bump until the Cox concedes or there is physical contact between the crews.
Yes.
So if you can hold on and trust your crew to keep pushing, you can be quite brave leaving that concession until you absolutely have to make it. Wolfson looking really quite strong with a good rhythm as they come down the Boathouse Island section now.
But if we can swing up towards the finish, we may be able to see if we get that bump between Trinity and Bennett. But I suspect it would have to be a concession. We are just about to see them
So
soon.
you just see the blades. It looks like Trinity are clearing. So that
they've bumped. They've made it.
Well done, Trinity. That would have been a
No,
hard
Osler.
bump.
Sorry, no, Osler have bumped. Sorry, I lie. You're right. Trinity of Courts and Teddy's Hall. That's right.
Bennett's Hall, yeah. So that would have been a really, really long race for Trinity, and they'll be very glad that they got that before the end of the course.
So who does that make a sandwich boat at the end of that one?
I would imagine it would be Wolfson 4, since they were the first crew, the highest crew to bump Bennett's, and all the crews will
They'll all go up
with them.
Right.
Yes.
So Bennett's drop down and the others advance in order, as opposed to Trinity having caught up all the way, going to the top of the pile.
Absolutely, yes.
Got you. And Wolfson bumped so early that they'll be nice and fresh, ready to have an attack at the Teddy Hall crew that's at the back of Division 6.
And that is one of the slightly cruel things about bumps racing. The longer you have to hold on to, either bump a crew or avoid getting bumped, it does just mean that you are more tired for the next race. So Wolfson will be trying to get that bump nice and quickly in the next division, so that because they will be that little bit more tired than the other crews. It does look like we also have St. Cat's coming up as well, bringing up the back of the division. Again, rowing quite nicely and neatly, but perhaps have decided that they are going for a row over rather than to chase crews down at this point in the race.
Yes, because they lost 3 places on first day, and then they lost another place yesterday, so they at least they're not losing a place today. And there should be the launch you can just see on the right of the screen. So the crews behind are the ones just coming home, and that's the Osler House 1 crew with all the hats on that got the first bump on Trinity.